So we do want this to be more of a Q&A. So stop us if you have any questions. We are really not going to go through most of these slides. These are really just for your education in case they should start to talk about any of this sort of stuff. I went to a meeting the night before last, and really one of the reasons that we included a lot of these slides was because the main one of the accrediting ladies who was on this call, she said that they really don't want faculty and staff to look like a deer in headlights if these topics are brought up. So we just wanted to make sure that you are aware of what Trinity as an institution, what the institutional mission is, and then kind of how that wraps into what the program's mission is, which really is steeped in commitment to learning, caring, creating practitioners that exemplify all the core values of OT and then Trinity. So really those are what the mission and then the vision. Trinity does not, I'm sorry, what the missions are. Trinity does not have a vision, therefore the OT programs do not have a vision, but we do have a philosophy, which is on the next slide, which is just educating clinicians into that space of being a generalist upon graduation. So once they finish their field work, based on all the education that they've had, they are a generalist going into the workforce. So that's the philosophy. And then the philosophy of our teaching is learning, which is based on the hybrid model, as you all are well aware, and that the learning must be interactive and reciprocal. So we're not just giving them all the information, they have to provide as much effort in producing the work based on any information that we give them, both on the learning management platform and then within the classroom. So this is really where we want to spend the most time, which is in the curricular design. So I hope you all had a chance to look at your syllabus. If you haven't, make sure you have your syllabus with you when you come into the meeting, so that if they do ask any questions about curricular threads, or you feel like you can use the syllabus and any notes that you've taken as resources. They don't expect you to come in and regurgitate anything by memory, because we all get nervous and we have to look at our notes. So looking at the curricular design, really our design is within that first semester. So that is OTM 520, which Shayla teaches, OTM 521 that Sam J teaches, 525 that I teach, and 522, which is their kinesiology class. Lisa taught last semester, and we'll have, there will be a new OT that will be teaching it this coming fall. So that is where they start to learn their core skills. So those are like the core materials. So Shayla teaches their foundations class. So what is the theory, models of practice for occupational therapy? What is the OT process? So that's really what they learn in Shayla's class. Within Sam J's class, they start to learn about clinical conditions, and they learn how to apply that. They learn that we don't just treat a diagnosis, but we treat the human. And she has some great assignments that, and Sam, you can speak better about your assignments because I'm blanking on them right now, but how those assignments start to build their knowledge of what occupational therapy is. In OT 525, in their basic skills class, they start to learn the very basics of, as an occupational therapist, from a rehab perspective, from a pediatric perspective, from a mental health perspective, what does an OT do? What are the domains of occupational therapy? So they learn about performance factors and performance skills, and they learn how to do an activity analysis. So when they come to you in those higher level classes and they say they don't they look at you and they're like, oh, activity analysis. It's because of me, because I've instilled in them that that's what we do as OTs. So they build on that the ability to do an occupation analysis. And then when they get into the 2, 3, 4, 5 semesters, all of that core material is built to increase their competence and their confidence, and then to ultimately be able to demonstrate their skills within that final 5th semester and in field work. So there are 5 curricular threads that we've listed here. So that's really what I want you to go into your syllabus, and we'll look at, and when you look at the curriculum design, you will see what curricular threads are attached to your class, and then really be able to understand why and how you are assessing those curricular threads. So we'll talk a little bit about assessment as well. So Angela, when we did the OTAB initial accreditation, so I don't know if you all heard, but we did get 7 years, which is the highest number of years for an initial accreditation for a program, which is awesome. And we're the 2nd OTAB accredited program in the United States. And currently we are the only program that did get 7 years. So we did a really great job for OTAB, which I feel will do equally great in the MOT reaccreditation. But sort of what the format looked like, and it'll look a little bit different for us because it really was just core faculty that was present at the OTAB accreditation. So we know that curriculum pretty much inside and out. So we were all in the room. So this will look a little bit different because I think most of us will not be in the room. If you're able to be there, that would be amazing. If you're not, we'll just Zoom you in. But how they wanted us to go over the curriculum was go class by class, semester by semester. Is that right, Angela?
Yeah, so they went, they said semester 1, and then each professor that had a class in semester 1 talked about those classes for that semester. And then they went semester 2. Each of the professors talked about the classes in semester 2. Now, the professors that talked about the classes in semester 2 would say buzz terms like building off of what, this class number. So let's say I taught OTA process 1. When the professor came to talk about OTA process 2, they're like, building off of OT process 1, I do X, Y, and Z. So like we were familiar with like how the curriculum flowed so that we were able to like reference back to what professor said that taught the previous class. But it was a very casual conversation, wasn't stressful.
But we did want you to know within the curriculum, where does your class live? So as I just went over semester 1, those are where those classes live. And then within semester 2, functional neuro with myself and Ava, and that really is building off of their kines class, OT process 1, which is the basic skills class where they learned started to learn the domains. 520 with Shayla because they started to learn the process, OT process, and now they're starting to put that in action. What does it look like to evaluate a client? What does it look like, a neuro client specifically? What does it look like to start to create an intervention? So this is really still that semester 2 is still relatively within still that Bloom's taxonomy 1, 2, 3. They're still not really necessarily applying as much information yet because they are still laying that base foundation. But this is really their heavy semester because it's like the densest semester where they have neuro and they have peds. And they also have their OT process 2 class, which is where they start to learn how to do assessment. So I look at it from peds, standardized assessments, and informal observational occupation-based assessment, as well as adults, more biomechanical from a generalist perspective, how they do an assessment. We use a program called EHR Go. It's an electronic documentation system where there's case studies. They're able to, what we do is pair a lot of ICE videos and simulation with the EHR Go, and they start to practice documentation within the system. And then they build their initial knowledge of research. And Deanna, I don't know if you're able to answer this, but I think initially it's like, what is a research question? And then building on the basics of evidence-based practice to then move into their third semester, the summer session, that really is now let's start to create a research question, research project. And Amanda, you can speak better to that when they ask. And then moving into that semester 3, and you might hear it called a session, because Trinity does not have a summer semester, they have a summer session. And that's where they're taking their administration class with me this summer, as well as research 2. And then in the fall, they'll meet back for their regular semester. And this is where they start to really apply what they've been learning. So they have 2 mental health classes. One is their mental health assessment class with Angela, and the other is their mental health intervention class with Lisa. And it's behavioral health, psychosocial, functional cog. So it's like a really meaty mix of everything: behavioral health, mental health, cognition. And then their adult phys diz class with myself and Ava. And again, this is where they're starting to apply everything that they've learned from neuro, from kines, from their assessments classes, and then as well as building in advocacy with Sam, policy ethics. They're building on their knowledge from 620 there, where we talk about billing and payment systems and how to create a business plan, how to be a manager. So they're building on that information there in Sam's policy advocacy and ethics class as well. And then that semester 5 is really now demonstrating. So they laid down their base foundation in semester 1 and 2, 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then 4 and 5, it's really starting to be able to apply that information with OT process 4, which is their documentation intervention planning class with Angela and myself. Some of you have had the opportunity to participate in this, where we bring community clinicians into the classroom, have them assess the students on simulated case scenarios. The students have to evaluate a simulated client. They have to create an intervention plan for a simulated client. And then their final capstone, 2 capstones, one is a peds, one is an adult, where they where the community OT will then do that evaluation, or will score them, give them feedback, so they get feedback from somebody other than myself and Angela. 634, they go out into the community with Rashida and Lisa. They do groups, needs assessments. So this is really their community-based class. They have AT with Megan and Sonia, and this really is building on all semesters. And one of the kind of threaded assignments is their Shark Tank assignment from OTM 525, where they designed a low-tech piece of equipment. And now they've based on how much knowledge that they have, they are now able to really understand the OT process, the domains of occupational therapy, what assistive technology, who the client is, to really create and do this really cool adaptive AT design project. And then special topics with Ava is just what is emerging practice, what is out there, just adding another layer on all of the things that they've learned throughout their semester. And then after semester 5, they go into their field work. Does that make sense, all of how the course sequence goes? I only see myself, so I'm going to assume that's a yes. Okay. So here is another visual of what that looks like. This is the curricular map, and we gave this to you. We like this version of it because it does include the curricular threads. Which curricular threads, so these little gray boxes, are which curricular threads run through each of these classes. And then down at the bottom, these are the learning outcomes. The information is introduced, so that base knowledge, where they're starting to build that competence and confidence and knowledge, that's the number 2. And then number 3 is that entry level competence and where those classes live. And, you know, most of those classes, all of those classes are in their final semester. And then along with that are the learning outcomes. And this is for the MOT program as a whole. This is the outcomes that the students come away with from the classes that they take, that they're able to demonstrate these effective oral and written communication. So that's why we really impress upon them to use APA formatting, professional dress. They do have in their 2nd and 4th semesters, they have a professional behaviors assessment done by their academic advisor. So this is where they get feedback based on the performance within that area, where they're demonstrating their clinical skills, their ability to understand evidence-based, evidence-informed scientific inquiry research is one of our outcomes, conduct and ethics, and then ultimately successfully passing the NBCOT exam. So I hope this is a helpful tool for you all. We did put in everybody's name so that if you forgot who teaches which class, we highlighted it here for you all to see. Alrighty. So I wanted to look at the curricular threads. Okay. So that will be in your curriculum design handout that we gave you. So again, we don't expect you to go into this meeting remembering anything. Take notes, highlight. I have lots of highlights and little scribbles on my papers. But again, they just don't want us to look like deers in headlights, was exactly what she said. So here again are the curricular threads, and then specifically what the curricular threads actually mean. So they've all been, what's the word I'm looking for? Defined here, as well as what the goals and the objectives are based on these curricular threads. And then again, laid out where these threads are seen in which classes, and then how they are taught to the students and how they are assessed. So that's another big point that we want you to make sure you have a few examples of. How, if you have what are the assignments in your class? Or let me back up one step. How are you delivering the information? Is it recorded lectures? Is it face-to-face lectures? Is it worksheets? Is it, how are you delivering the information to them? And then how are you assessing that they have learned the information? So for example, in OTM 525, their basic skills class, their OT process 1, there are, their main textbook is Willard and Spackman, and the clinical competency workbook. So really, and the OTPF 4. So the majority of the assignments in that class is activity analysis. So I am using the readings, the OTPF 4, to help them with learn how to do activity analysis. And the majority of the assessments are activity analysis. Activity analysis is threaded through all of the classes as a core skill that they have to have. Scholarly inquiry and evidence-based practice. This is their research really hits this hard, which is great. But then we do see all of the scholarly inquiry and evidence-based practice in their interventions class, because they need to be able to identify what evidence supports the interventions that they are creating for their clients. So we thread that through all of the classes. So as you go through understanding what the thread means, which class it's in, how it's being taught, and then how you're assessing it. Does that make sense?
And I think coming up with like a fun example too. So for example, for 615, they have to demonstrate how they their skills are performing the ACLS. So we have like guest clinicians come in to review the ACLS with them, practice with them, and then they have a competency. So like you don't have to lay out an example for each like ACOTE standard that you teach, but like having someone that might stick out to you, unless you want to sit there and talk for the whole time and then take up everybody's time, which I'm sure we'd all appreciate. But if you have like a couple like really good assessment examples or activities, I think that's what they look for as well.
So when you're thinking about how to prepare, understand where in the curriculum your class falls, what the threads are in that class, and then think about maybe 2 highlights. What is like a really great way that maybe you've delivered the information, or how are you assessing it that was really good, or is there a specific student's assignment that was amazing? And then, you know, think about how those classes or how those assignments sort of build on one another. So if you want to, you know, talk with another one of the adjuncts who teaches one of the classes that also is within that is also within that curricular thread, to see what assignments maybe, you know, have worked to build on each other's to help build that competence, confidence, and their ability to demonstrate their skill. And we really encourage you to piggyback off of each other. So if I'm talking about something that I did in, you know, 624 with Ava, and Angela's like, oh yeah, but that we paired Falls Prevention Day, which is one of their field works that they do in 624, in 615, their mental behavioral health psychosocial class, we also pair cognitive screenings when we go into Falls Prevention Day. And that's how we thread and pull those, scaffold those classes and link them to each other. So being able to, you know, support each other and piggyback off each other with some ideas and some examples would be great. You don't really need to look too much into this, but when you look at the curriculum design, it's those 2 columns that I just, we were just looking at, columns C and D. If they ask about how our curriculum is evaluated, so this is really looking at quality improvement. We look at we do expect that every faculty member to look at the course evaluations, take that feedback, make adjustments in courses that way. We look at their exit interviews from the class. We look at The faculty peer evaluations on teaching and effectiveness. We look at the MBCOT pass rates. We listen to the students' feedback. And that's how we really make a lot of those curriculum design changes based on the feedback from the students. And I think in the past year and a half, we've made some really great changes with the curriculum to make it flow and make sense. And you really see the scaffolding of the classes based on the feedback from the students. And if they ask about how we support our students, we, as during their orientation, had Students Success Center, which included Dr. Laboon, who is, she came in and she talked about how to study, how to do test taking, she talked about how to read a textbook. Like, she gave them a lot of tips on how to be organized. We also brought in the counselor and for resources for managing their stress. And then this is the link to some support services that we can offer them. You can talk about raising flags and starfish for any students who maybe are struggling academically. If you have a student who maybe is struggling financially or with any other resources. As an example, I had a student last semester whose car got stolen. And she came into class the next morning and she's like, I'm so sorry, my car got stolen with all of my books and my laptop. And I promptly raised a flag, got in contact with the dean, and we got her a computer that same day. So we really work proactively to support our students in whatever needs that they might have. So if they ask how we do that, those are some examples. So in conclusion, understand what curricular threads are in your class, where your class fits into the curricular design, how you assess your students, any examples, at least 2. Jot things down, read from your notes, it's okay. We only have 1 hour and 15 minutes, I think, with them. So it's not too long, and there's a lot of us. Any questions on that? What we just talked about? Oh no.
I did have a question, just because I'm newly back in here. Do you guys meet regularly for like faculty staff meetings to like talk about updates and things like that?
So that is a great question. And the short answer is no, although it is part of our program improvement is to have more regular, especially like end of semester debriefs, so that we really know what is being taught in each class and what is getting lost, what is being duplicated. So that is part of our quality improvement initiative. The other part of that is each semester there is an adjunct orientation that is required of the adjunct that are teaching that semester. So for the fall adjunct orientation, I think is August 17th. And that is an opportunity for us all to sit down. It is only once a semester for the faculty teaching that semester. So it's not, it can kind of feel a little disconnect. You could feel disconnected from the team, be only meeting that one time, which is why we want to make it a little bit more regular. But we do meet that for sure, that one time a semester, if you're teaching that semester. Any other questions? Okay. If you do have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Angela. The 2 things that we do need to know are who are going to be in person and who do we need to send a Zoom link to. So you can either tell us now or you can email us. I know Amanda, you will be there. Ava, you'll be virtual.
This is Megan. I will be there. And then also the other question I have is, can I just wear my scrubs?
Yes, please.
I will also be there in person.
Awesome.
Deanna's virtual, looks like.
And remind me what time and where I'm meeting you guys.
You will meet us. So it starts at what time? I put it on the. It is 1 to 2:45 on Thursday. So if you want to, you can just meet us in Maine. We'll be in the main lobby area all day, so you can. Oh, but you'll be there. Yeah, you'll be there. So whenever you could come is fine. We'll be there all day. And then the other thing is, if anyone is interested and available on Saturday between 10 and 10:30, you all are invited to the reading of the Rose Report. And the Rose Report, I actually can't remember what it stands for, but it's a really nice acronym to describe the results of. Kim, do you know what it stands for? I can't recall. But it's the results of their visit. So they'll tell us if there's areas of non-compliance.
It is the report of on-site evaluation.
Any areas of non-compliance, any areas of, I forget all the other terminology, but basically it's just an overview of how we did. They make recommendations for our program. But the final say goes to a whole group of people, and they meet, and I think their meetings are like once a month or once every couple of months, and they go through and they review all of the reports, and then they have their rulings on accreditation. So we probably won't find out, because it's also the summer, probably until the fall, what the final say is, but they can give us a pretty good, so they won't tell us how many years that they think we should be accredited for, but they'll say, you did great, or these are the areas that are not so good. These are the areas of non-compliance that you need to fix. So that's where they give us that report then. So everyone is welcome. And if you're interested in joining via Zoom or in person, we can certainly set that up as well. So just send us an email if you're interested.
I have a quick question. I didn't get in my notes who was going to be in person.
Sam J, Megan, and Amanda. And I'll follow up with Gretchen. I think she potentially might be able to be in person. But it's 2 OTs coming to evaluate us. As you know, OTs are warm and squishy, and they want us to be successful. So it should be a pretty lighthearted, fairly easy interview with them on Thursday.
Yeah, it was more of a casual conversation, and they also didn't ask a lot of follow-up questions. They kind of, at least for the OT A1, they just kind of let us talk and then said we talked well, and that was about it. So
any other questions? Awesome. All right. Well, if you have any other things that you want to talk to us before Thursday, just send us an email, and I will get the Zoom link out to you all tomorrow or Thursday morning. All right, thank you all so much.
Olivia and Angela, can you stay on and they talk to you?
Yes.
Yeah.